You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Advance Rhode Island. I'm Dan McKee, the Lieutenant Governor of the state, and every month we provide a good TV show to talk about the things that we're working on in our office, whether it's municipal issues, which I want to talk quickly about that before we get to the panel, whether it's small business issues, health issues. So thank you for coming today. We've got a real good panel to talk about manufacturing in the state of Rhode Island, and we're going to get kind of in the details, but there's a far more manufacturing going on in the state than you could ever believe, and if you just kind of like watching it from a distance, there's really good things happening in manufacturing. We're going to get to that. One of the things I wanted to briefly talk about is some of the things, two things that we're working on in the office that that really are off topic a little bit. But yesterday we gathered 14 communities, and we're going to have more to talk about the opioid epidemic in the state and nationally. And we gathered in and we helped organize through our office a national lawsuit to join in to actually sue the drug makers and the manufacturers who have not been telling the whole story about how addictive these drugs are. So I just want to say quickly that if anybody's out there and that issue is important to you, as we know it is in every community and families throughout the state of Rhode Island, please feel free to contact our office, share your stories, and so that we can kind of build this case to bring resources into municipalities to help with the education, the research, and also the rehab that needs to happen so that we keep everybody healthy in the state of Rhode Island. So quickly, I want to, that was my little blurb there to kind of just tell people that we're working on very important things. But today, I want to introduce a panel of manufacturers and associations that are involved with manufacturing in the state of Rhode Island. So I wanted to do is just start here, Ed, and just introduce yourself, and then we'll go around the panel, introduce, and just tell us a little bit about your business. I've been able to visit your business, and very impressed down in Bristol. There's manufacturing going on in Bristol, just as there is in Providence and North Smithfield, as you'll hear. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, my name's Ed Mack, and I'm the CEO of Trimac Plastics, which is located in Bristol, Rhode Island. And Trimac was founded like 45 years ago by my parents, Ed and June Mack, who are both chemists. So we're a materials and technology sort of oriented company. We do manufacturing, of course, all plastic parts for various industries. We do specialize in high strength, lightweight, high temperature, high performance applications. We sell to aerospace industry, chemical processing industry, medical, electronics, and industrial equipment type applications.
Yes, you're second generation, but you told me that you may be headed to the third generation shortly, right?
Absolutely. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Yes.
What
yes.
a good tour, and we're going to hear more about more of the particulars and who you're working with in the next kind of go around, and where you're shipping, and the robotics and the partnerships that you're developing that are really extraordinary. When I came back and saw the partnerships that you're doing to kind of increase the manufacturing into the airplane industry and with Boeing and other companies,
exactly,
right in Bristol, Rhode Island. That's what we want to hear is the things that are really cooking really good in the state to kind of give us this to help move this image in terms of business friendliness in the state. So thanks for being here and sharing that. Mike, tell us a little bit about your business, but I want to first draw attention to the banners here. So I did visit your shop up North Smithfield a few years back. Had a good conversation with you. Had a discussion with a lot of the staff that you have there. And then we decided to run a TV show, so we called you. So could you develop a little banners for us so that we could use in the TV show? And it's worked very well. It's worked very well. So tell us not just about the banners. That was kind of a little plug on the show, but
We appreciate that.
tell us. But and a plug for you too.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your business and share that with the audience, please.
Well, National Market Company, or NMC, was started in 1934 out of someone's garage. The business went through a process in 2011 where there's some out-of-state ownership that was looking to sell the company to one of our biggest competitors. And I've been with the company since 1998. And with the help of the state of Rhode Island and some outside financing, we were able to purchase the organization in 2012 and keep the jobs in Rhode Island. We're a manufacturer of a printing company. We have 1,100 active distributors across North America. We print anywhere from a simple banner to a stop sign to, if you look at the new $3 billion LaGuardia expansions, when it says welcome to LaGuardia, we were able to compete against that also, working with some distribution out of New York City. Currently on the increase and the rise. Bought the land next door, looking for some expansion coming up, and feel very lucky to be in the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's very positive, and I know that when I met with you, you were all in on Rhode Island as we are, and trying to really make sure that there's good economy, strong economy, and so that there's jobs out there, right, for the families. And I know when you gathered the whole staff, we got a beautiful picture of that.
Yes, sir.
Behind a makeshift banner that you did for the day, welcoming us to the office. So we're very happy to be out and about. And one of the things that we've done, Mike, since then is we've visited all 39 communities. So if we're on a farm tour, we go all 39. We're on a diner tour, all 39. We're able to, and now we're halfway through the manufacturing tour. Right now, we probably visit almost 20 manufacturers in the state of Rhode Island, and we're on our way to go to each and every community, meet with the municipal leaders, meet with the business owners, and talk to the staff in all these places. And I've been welcomed, so thank you so much for welcoming me into your business up there in North Smithfield.
Thank you.
And
It's an
thank you
honor
for
to be
being here today. David, Cumberland, you can talk as a business owner, and now you can talk as the executive director of REMA. Tell us a little bit about REMA, and then when we get around to some of the business things that was talked about. Actually, the governor talked about Swiss Line, your former business, the other night in her address.
Yeah, it was, I moved on to chapter 2, as you know. And, I was in manufacturing most of my life, and I owned my own company for about 31 years in Cumberland. Always been in Cumberland. Dan and I served together in the Cumberland Town Council, so we go back a few years there. But right now, they asked me to take on the executive director's position at the Rhode Island Manufacturing Association. So I keep my hands in manufacturing, and I try to bring my knowledge and experience to help other manufacturers throughout the state, and it's been working out pretty good. We've had a real good run for the last year and a half or so.
And you got a number of, in the association, you have a number of businesses that
Yes.
do different, various types of manufacturing,
We
right?
do. And people in Rhode Island, the sad part of it is they don't realize what's really made in Rhode Island. There's so many diversity with the manufacturers, from caps on the mustard, French's Mustard, to printing companies, signage, Mag Seal out in Warren, who does precision bearings. It just amazes me, the stuff. And my own company, which was aerospace and medical for brain surgery. It was amazing, the stuff that's made, but a lot of people just don't recognize that.
Yeah, and so we're going to get to some of the opportunities
Yep.
that are in the business. You certainly represent that very well, and the fact I think I was reading that there's as many as 1,500 different manufacturers in the state of Rhode
Around
Island.
1,600 right now.
Yeah. So
1,600.
I don't think that the public understands that. You know, when you talk about 1,600 manufacturers in 39 communities, right? And Black Island, I think, has one, and we have visited that. We had visited that fiber company that makes yarn, yes, so that's a big number, and that's a great opportunity. And REMA, Bill McCourt, right? Another
Previous
Cumberland
executive
friend, right?
director, correct.
Was really front and center on that, and talking about a number of things that have to do with not only manufacturing but positioning our education system, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about
We'll
that.
talk about that.
Weigh
With
in on
Davies
that a
and
little
everything,
bit, because I
correct.
know you're showing a big interest in
Yeah,
that, David, right?
we were able to get that 3.65 to Davies the last budget session, and we visited it a couple times already, and it's working out well, and it's great to see the young kids getting involved in manufacturing.
Yeah. Thanks, David. Thank you for being here. Dino, tell us a little bit about your company. I visited, I think, twice. I've been in your
Yep.
business at least 2 times. It's in Cranston, right?
Yep,
Is it? Yes,
Cranston, that's right.
And yeah, tell us about
So-
your whole. I mean, it's quite a unique business in terms of what you manufacture and what you put together for in the manufacturing industry.
Yeah, so I'm the engineering operations manager for Yushin America. Yushin is a global organization. We're a subsidiary of a Japanese company, Yushin Precision from Kyoto, Japan. We've been in Rhode Island for close to 30 years now. We manufacture robotics and custom automation. So what we do, as you said, is very unique. Our robots are primarily for injection molding machines, so anything that has to do with injection molding or plastics, even thermoforming, packaging, palletizing, our robots handle. The good stuff that I get to do with my team is really the custom automation components that goes with the robot. You know, he mentioned some of the companies in Rhode Island here, and we've done some automation for companies in Rhode Island. From our Cranston facility, we support the United States and we support Mexico. We've done stuff for Canada as well. So we do quite a bit with robotics and custom automation. And we have a full machine shop. The machine shop runs 2 shifts. We've got a weld shop. We've got a paint shop. So we're making all of these things right here out of our facility in Cranston. And we just expanded within the past 2 years. We put 25,000 square foot expansion onto our building. So our business is thriving and we're doing very well, especially with all of the initiatives to reshore. You know, there's always a misconception. People don't really understand automation. The first thing that they think about is maybe it's going to take somebody's job. But we actually help companies thrive and survive in the United States and be competitive at a global level because they're increasing their productivity, they're reducing costs, and you know, and people are having a tough time finding the help now, and the robots can help them with that output.
Yeah, and you know, so when I walked through the shop, so let me tell you my background in manufacturing. When I was going through college, I worked at Hindley Manufacturing in Cumberland, which did a lot of screws and bolts and that type of thing. And it was you know, a number of years ago, obviously.
Right.
And so that was kind of my image a little bit about manufacturing,
Sure.
right? Boy, that's not what we're seeing today.
Right.
That is not what we're seeing in terms of the expansion of the future.
Yeah.
When we look at robotics, and I think we have
Right.
pictures of a number of the places we visited, and we're going to probably filter that into the show so people can kind of see. But it's an extraordinary picture when we see the machinery that you have, right, and you
Yep.
put together that can do do this work.
Yeah.
Right, it's precise, very precise.
Very precise. The technology advances, the environment advances, things change. It's very dynamic, and it's a much different manufacturing environment than what you may have seen many years ago.
Yeah, many years ago. I
Yeah.
think I was the crimper. We put the boxes together, and they put the steel band around it, and then I was the guy that was kind
Right,
of crimping
right,
it together.
right,
I
yeah.
could play baseball pretty good, so they had me down there because I played on the baseball team,
Yeah.
at night. So, but anyways, that was my introduction to manufacturing. I know that what I've seen in all the shops is just really, really great. Christian,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your Polaris and what you do and how you help these companies here, because we're going to get into more detail. But tell us a little bit of the overview of the role that you play in the state of Rhode Island.
Sure. So Polaris MEP. MEP stands for Manufacturing Extension Partnership. So we're part of a national network. The national MEP network has one MEP center in every state. So it's a federal program. We get some federal money and some state money. And our mission is to support manufacturing growth in the state in conjunction with our network across the country. So we have historically and continue to help companies with lean manufacturing, so it's a lot about efficiencies, quality systems, including ISO certification, and facility layout. We have someone on staff that's probably laid out half of the manufacturing facilities in the state. So we help a lot of companies get better at what they do, a lot of bottom line impacts. We have 5 project managers on staff that help deliver those programs. And I like to say the best days are when I go into the office and there's no one there, because they're all out executing projects at the manufacturing companies. And over the past couple of years, we've done more and more different types of projects, more top-line impact projects with companies to help with some sales and marketing and some technology, et cetera. So it's been great. Similar to Dave, I have the luxury of going to visit all the different manufacturing companies in the state, and I think everyone would be amazed at some of the fantastic stuff that's made here.
Yes, and I haven't seen them all, but I've seen a number of them, and so make sure that you include me on some of those visits, because I think it's very important to get out and get educated, so that when we're doing our jobs and we're out and about, we can kind of communicate to people the various skill sets that we need, and that you're helping with some of that training, and you're helping with the that lean. Tell us a little bit about the lean. I don't think a lot of people know about what were you saying, that the lean program, or the efficiency program. Tell a little bit about what that, because I've been into a couple companies that have been very excited about that.
Yeah, lean manufacturing is all about efficiency. So it's about analyzing your process, looking at how many times you touch material, how material flows through your plant. We've had several companies that have increased their output by 1/3 up to 2/3 sometimes, just by studying what they're doing and really creating things and producing things more efficiently. Vibeco is certainly one of our key partners, who's a manufacturer down south, makes industrial vibrators, and they continue to go brag around the state that they reduced their backlog down to 0, just by looking at what they're doing and getting material to flow through their factory faster.
Yeah, and so people can contact your office and learn more about that, right? The manufacturers out there that are not necessarily in the loop. Maybe they're not part of REMA, or they could be part of REMA, but we can share that information before the show's over, and hopefully we're going to get a handful of people calling your shop, calling you, David, talking about how they can participate in this whole energy of trying to find a way to make sure that Rhode Island is positioned really well and strong on the economy. What I want to do now is go around and as we get into some of the programs, if you're doing some of the programs, even an interaction right now would be really good. But what I've said a number of times in my visits when I'm speaking and that type of thing, so when it's raining, don't tell me the sun's shining, right? And I think that there's that element that those clouds that have been hovering over the state of Rhode Island in terms of business friendliness, and how we're really trying really hard to improve business friendliness. And actually, we're getting grades up right now for a lot of the work that's happening with different associations, with the state, with the chambers. The Rhode Island is moving up. And I'll give you one example where I brought in this company called Thumbtack from California a few years back in 2015, because they kept on giving us Fs in business friendliness. So during the campaign, I called them up and I said, geez, if I get elected, would you come out? And so they did, and we had 2 sessions of the businesses, the small businesses, more of the service businesses, that were really talking about Rhode Island, being in Rhode Island and giving us poor grades. And in that 3 years, we've had a 1.5 grade upgrade. Now, it's not perfect, but because if you go to F to a D+, but I've been reminded by students that that's the difference between going to summer school and not going to summer school. So, and sometimes I was in that category on some of the grades, so I fully understand, but let's get another 1.5 grades. Let's get into that B level. And I know that the governor in her address the other night talked about another metric that we've moved from very the back of the bus towards the middle of the bus, and we want to keep that going. So talk about, Ed, some of the things that are going well for your company, because you talked about an expansion to me that was just extraordinary. So tell us things that are going well in your mainstay of the business that you showed us, but also that vision that you showed us, which was more than the vision. You're outfitting over 100,000 square feet right now down in Bristol. So share us a little bit about the good, the sunshine. When the sunshine comes through those clouds, we want to celebrate those things.
Okay. Well, I'll say one of the things at Sunshine is we worked with in this build out. We're building out a JV to market some technology that TriMac developed. One of our raw material suppliers sort of saw it and liked it and wanted to support taking a commercial much more quickly than we had intended to. So we've got a JV set up where we're supplying technology and they're supplying finance, and we're putting in really a world-class facility right in Bristol to manufacture this thermoplastic carbon fiber material.
That story was great, and of course the attorney that put that together, you shared with me, was your wife, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we had a lot of conversations all over the place on that. Yeah. It was a topic for a year. That was a dominant topic.
Yeah, and when I mentioned, because your dad started the business 50 years ago, or whatever it might be, and I said, if he saw it today, would he really recognize it? What was your answer?
No, it's pretty different. It's pretty different. That's really sort of leads us to the biggest thing we're facing now, is just how rapidly customer requirements, how rapidly a company needs to evolve to stay competitive. And we really try to look at we used to say win, win, win. Now it's how many wins. You have to have collaboration between customers, between employees, between raw material suppliers, between equipment suppliers, and we need everybody's best product, everybody's best effort. And now, one of the things that's, you asked what's a ray of sunshine. I, met you through our local town administrator, Steve Contenti,
Yes.
who's been very helpful with this, with supporting us in this build-out process. And I'll say, just in getting ready for this this show right now, I binge watch all the previous episodes, and to see what you're doing and looking at the breadth of the companies and types of companies that you're working with, and just the amount of nuance that's involved. They're all sort of niche markets. We're really in a niche market. But to have somebody at the state level who's willing to put the time in and understand the nuances of all these niche businesses and try to structure something on the state level that's helpful, it's a whole nother partner, a whole nother opportunity for us to win. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. And Steve's an administrator, elected official down there in Bristol. And one of the things that I've been able to do, because I was a mayor for 12 years and really interacted with mayors and municipal leaders throughout the state of Rhode Island as a mayor, helping with health insurance costs and education issues and those type of things. So that network is still there, and I'm keeping it alive. That's why I was mentioning at the beginning of the show, bringing in 400,000 or 500,000 people yesterday into North Providence City Hall to talk about an opioid epidemic. We can do the same thing to organize municipal leaders around when we get to the second phase of the question, how do we make it easier for businesses to actually work in communities? Hopefully we can bring those people together and the municipal leaders and talk specifically about ways that we can help improve that. But I want to get back to just a little bit to what I saw in your shop relative. Tell us just a little bit about how you've been working in the airline industry and what those products that you're shaping, and you know the terminology better than I do, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you're building state-of-the-art pieces of equipment, not equipment, but pieces that they need.
Yeah, processes,
and it's being done in a very creative way that an outside, very affluent outside entity wanted to partner in with with that intelligence that you have, right?
That's correct. Our partner in that is a global. It's a company named Victrex, and they're a global chemical company. They basically supply PEEK polyethers, the ketone material, and they're large. They're publicly traded, based out of the UK.
Yes.
So. We have a really strong partner there that's helping us, but the technology is basically everybody's heard about carbon fiber, and carbon fiber is a
Well, a lot of people that are watching the show right now will
it's an amazing material.
It's
incredibly strong, incredibly stiff. So you can make really for any application that requires high strength and light weight, which is aerospace, and many others, but robotics.
Yes, robotics. Yes.
So what we're doing, the typical chemistry for that is to have roughly 65% carbon and about 35% or 30% by weight of a matrix that holds the carbon together. The matrix is typically epoxy resin, which has processing requirements that need an autoclave and heat to react and to fuse. So there's been materials around for a long time that are carbon fibers, but encapsulated in thermoplastic. So we've sort of developed and assembled technology to manufacture sheets and shapes from thermoplastic composite. And the advantage of that is that the processing times you need to heat it and form it and cool it, and it's done. So it's much, much quicker to form than the incumbent technology, than the epoxy technology. So we can make high-strength, lightweight parts much more quickly.
And that's the key. And thank you thank your wife for figuring out a way to strategize, keep that intelligence here in Rhode Island, keep those jobs here in Rhode Island, and bring in outside resources into the state. And last thing I want to just mention while it's on my mind is because you're expanding workforce, and we like that.
That's correct.
And I asked the question, where are you getting this workforce? And you were You answered.
Yeah, it's all over.
It's all over.
Yeah, yeah. We're bringing folks in from other states, and even well, we've got UK partners, so
Yes.
even other countries.
Well,
and
I want to move on here because we're going to give everybody an opportunity to kind of weigh in. But I think it's important for all of us to recognize that Rhode Island really needs a population growth strategy. It really needs one. Not just because we lose a congressman. That's a sidebar issue. When I want to let you know and let the people know that 100,000 people by 2030 will have an add to the list of people who are 65 and older in the state of Rhode Island. 100,000. So if you maintain, you do the simple math, 15% right now are in that non-working, traditionally non-working, or at least phasing out careers strategy. When you add 100,000 to that, it's really simple math, right? All of a sudden now you have 2 to 250,000 on a million. You got 20 to 25% of the state of Rhode Island in that non-working category. That's not going to help us with our economy that we need to make sure that we're creating the revenue. So in Cumberland, I put a 1% growth model together a number of years back, and with the council and planning, and we grew at 1% in the town of Cumberland. And we're one of the few communities in the state that actually grew. And because we grew, on a very slow process, we absorbed most of that infrastructure. Most people don't even know that we did that. So we need to figure that out throughout the state. And you need to be, otherwise you're not going to have the workforce you need. You're certainly not going to have the workforce that you need to pay the taxes on the payroll taxes and the other things that keep the boat afloat. And anyways. I like the idea you were bringing from out of state. We need to do more of that. We need to make sure we employ people in the state, but let's make sure that we're intentional and try to bring people in. Hopefully the state of Rhode Island puts together an absolute plan, and the business community support that to actually itemize, to go through a process of documenting how we're going to do that and how we're going to do that best for Rhode Island. Mike, tell us about your business, who you do business with. I mean, I've toured the shop. It's you've got a fairly significant sized workforce there, and you're another example of sticking up for Rhode Island. That company could have left the state, right, as you said earlier, and yet it's here, and 5 years later, 6 years later, you're making some really progress there. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do at your shop.
So,
And start with the square footage. I talk about shop. This is not like a small.
It's 48,000.
Yeah,
48,000 square feet
yes.
with a $34,000 possible addition in
Yes.
regards to that. But I think since we've last spoke, since we bought the organization in 2012, we're more than 2.5 times the size now, adding to the workforce. But we've really changed quite a bit of our manufacturing in the sense that we used to do. When I joined the company back in '98, 94% used to be stock. And now we've got that down to about 44%, with 56% being custom. And custom is basically delivering the customer's message at the speed of sight. So the fact is that we have, with the help of Christian and Polaris, is gone through the lean training consecutively twice a year for the past 5 years, and we've reduced our space utilizing technology from the digital printing side. So we have the ability now where we've brought some in-house programmers. So when you go to our website, you create something custom. Basically, that custom message now delivers all the way through and goes directly to the machine. So the fact is, when you do something like that, we could be making your product within an hour. Also with our customization and our ability from the manufacturing standpoint, we've been able to reach in specific areas that we haven't been able to in the past 5 years. So we have an 1,100 distributors across North America, so we're a B2B, but our relationship is that 94% of our product sends directly to the end user. So we really have two sets of customers in regards to that, and managing that and communicating that is a continuous challenge, and we're trying to improve upon that.
Yeah, like you said, you do from the banners, but I also saw where you do these storefront and a number of different. Tell us a little bit about some of your major suppliers that that you're actually supplying the signage for throughout the country, because your signs are all over the place, right?
That's correct. I mean,
Yes.
if you go into Fenway or Yankee Stadium or Gillette or something like that, you'll see whether it could be the fire extinguisher or something that you see on the floor. We also work with one of our distributors who has exclusivity to the NHL, NBA, NFL, And we really help them from a customization. So the things that you see on the Tom Brady's on the walls or the different things on the floors, we manufacture all that product also. And then also really that part of the business is where it's growing is the children, the grandchildren, when you get them in an event or doing something, the customization of being able to take that, picture that, cut it out, and being able to adhere that to a wall or floor, we have the ability to do that also.
Yeah, we got a couple of pictures. Hopefully, we're going to be able to roll that into this show because as you talk about it, and that's why when I heard that we were going to go to Ed's place, I said we got to go down and see it.
That's great.
Because you got to have a sense of what. And when we were putting the show together, I says, we've seen a number of manufacturers. Make sure, and there's a lot of manufacturers in the state, but make sure that people that are here, I've actually visited their shop so that you know their place of business, so that you have a sense. Because when you just describe that, it sounds like it's, you know, it sounds like it doesn't give justice to what I've seen.
Correct.
And the product that is there is extraordinary, and here it is right in Rhode Island, North Smithfield, all the places. We've got a population of about 12,000 right now in North Smithfield, right? So and these things are growing right here in the state.
One of the wonderful things about what you mentioned is that when we like to bring customers in to show how it is made, because they make an assumption that they look at something and see how easy, but when they see the technology and the people and they put it in, and what's wonderful about it is that we get to bring them to the state of Rhode Island along the process. So we do have probably over 150 visits that we have from customers that come and visit, and we try to keep them out of the winter time, but the spring, summer, and fall is a wonderful one.
Well, unless they're Patriots fans.
That's
If
right.
they're Patriots
That's
fans,
right.
they can show up during the winter time because we're still playing, and something to be pretty excited about.
The rest of the country thinks we're lucky.
It's just lucky. Well, I'll tell you, the rest of the country might think we're lucky, but it has to do with hard work, and that's what you bring to the table here is the hard work that it takes. And as one of the things that attracted me to the Lieutenant Governor's office is that we've been in small business for our whole lives, right? And because of that, we've rode this roller coaster in Rhode Island. And we've also been in 24-hour service businesses, 7 days a week type of businesses. So the clock never stops. And when you're running your own shop, right? So, David, tell us some of the things that REMA's working on that is really will help. And I think that some of the things that we're going to want to talk about, some of the programs that you're making them aware of. I know that right now there's some good labor training going on. We're meeting with labor, the labor department, and getting trained up in our staff. We want to get out and make sure we bring a dozen or more businesses in that don't understand, are not aware that we pay, in our payroll taxes, we pay a small amount of money that ends up to be a large amount of money for training. And we want to make sure that more and more small businesses take advantage of that training. That's one of the objectives that we put in for 2017 is to get a double-digit 10 to 12 businesses to do that. But that's the type of things that you're making your
Yeah, we're doing it on both
association aware of.
ends. Rhode Island's been fortunate. Over the last year, we've increased almost 1,400 manufacturing jobs. And when I go to different facilities, everyone's hiring and is having a hard time trying to find personnel. As Dino mentioned, it's just not that simple. So how do we fix that? Well, we got to do training. And the Real Jobs program has been a very strong portion of the success of getting people trained. We Make Rhode Island, which is our sister organization, they're graduated 125 to 130 kids every year. 98% are getting jobs. And these are kids coming out of the high schools. And they're there, and it's being paid for through the Real Jobs. On the other hand, Davies, we were able to get $3.65 million into Davies for advanced manufacturing. There's a lot of things happening there. Right now, they had over 500 students want to go to Davies. They're only going to accept 330. So that's a big plus as well. On the other side, my battle is having the state to recognize the many S and LLCs that we have in the state. These are small businesses. And most of the regulations that we have on the books right now in the state of Rhode Island apply to C Corps. And that's wonderful, but we're not getting the advantage of the S's and the LLCs to take advantage of it. For example, an apprenticeship program. Apprenticeship program, if you sign up for it and you get involved with it, you can get a $4,800 tax credit. So C corporations can get that. S's and LLCs are ineligible. So we put in legislation this year with Commerce and along with the governor's budget to try to correct that as well.
So one of the things that my dad taught me when in business was, stay out of the government, stay out of the politics. It wasn't good for your business. What I'm telling people now is because of what you just said, David, right? If you want to have a strong economy, the business community needs to really get involved with how government works.
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership, and that's how you. And so I'm very, very pleased to see that coming from not only manufacturers but from all over the place. So it's not just a grab for your own self-interest. It's an effort that I see as more global than that. It's about the best interest of the economy of the state of Rhode Island and the work that you're describing.
We're trying to
does
grow
that.
jobs, and by working
Yes.
together in manufacturing and in other venues, that's how we grow Rhode Island's economy. Manufacturer's going to do well. Let me tell you, the state's going to do well. That's your driving engine, as far as I'm concerned, in Rhode Island. And contrary to many belief, but I work very closely with Christian at Polaris on various projects. We got a B2B coming up. Christian, you can talk about that afterwards. But there's a lot of good programs that's going on in the manufacturing world. Those salary wages are going up. Last year, the hourly rate went up by $1.30 per hour for a manufacturing worker, production worker. The average salary of production worker in Rhode Island is up to $57,000. These are good, solid jobs that are available. So we're making good strides, and manufacturing is alive and well, doing well. And I kind of like to think that when I talk to people such as Stefan or the governor or whomever, Scott at DLT, that my experience and background is bring some value more so than just a person talking to them. I've been in the weeds, I've been in the trouble, I've run my company, had a big facility, so I can relate to a lot of the problems that these companies like TriMac and yours have gone through. It doesn't have to be a CNC machine shop. I still can relate what he's going through as far as upgrading equipment, training people and getting them up to speed to be able to run that stuff. So I think that's been a plus as well.
Well, the commitment that is being made, I think I've mentioned a few times, is that I think that the timing is very good. I think that Rhode Island is going through a very difficult time in the last recession, that real strong recession we had in 2008, 2009 timeframe. And I think we've learned a little bit. Hopefully we learned a lot.
Yes.
That we need to make sure that we're not the first in and the last out of these recessions nationally. And so work like you're doing really contributes to resetting the state, so that that we can, be strong in the economy, increase the per capita income of the people who live in our state, bring in these type of technologies that are not back when I was doing the crimping, right? When I was doing the crimping, that's good technology, it's all good, but bring in. I wasn't getting paid $57,000 a year for that job. I think I was about $1.25 an hour or something like that at that
Well,
time.
like Dino said, and what he's doing, the jobs aren't the same. When you and I were down at that age of 18 and 20, it's changed. It's
Yes.
more of an advanced technology. And yeah, maybe some of the jobs have been lost to advanced technology, but those jobs are now higher paying jobs.
Yeah.
So they're going to get a better livelihood of what they're doing.
And that's the message I wanted to have today, is that, look, we're resetting, and it's not happening from the government side, it's happening from the initiatives that are coming from the business side, and now there's more of a partnership developing with the government, the state government, and the local governments that can actually, maximize
And then,
their options.
tribute to yourself, the key to all this is education. These kids coming out of these high schools need to have the math and the communication skills necessary to get involved with some of the technology that these people are running. I mean, it's printing, for example, Meridian Printing up in East Greenwich. It's got $1 million printing machines. You got to know what you're doing. Same thing with my facility. My last piece of equipment was a CNC with a laser built in. It's a $500,000 piece of equipment. You got to know what you're doing. I'm sure, Dino, you're the same thing with your operation. So the education, and I know you've been a promoter of that, is so important today. And that's where the driving force comes from.
I could do
I know.
a number of shows on that, but when I'm speaking now, and I do get a little over the top on it, but the education is the piece.
Yep.
That's our whole future.
Yep.
And yet we're very reluctant to push back against the status quo, or the gatekeepers that I call the people who kind of control the way that our public schools go. And now a big thing right now is the big gap in the Hispanic population, having that our community of Hispanic students are the lowest performing in the country based on multiple metrics over many years, and yet the school I helped start, the Blackstone Valley Prep Merrill Academy, will graduate its first class this year. And when you talk about what it's done in that Hispanic community, because of Pawtucket, Central Falls, Cumberland, Lincoln, 20, 30 points higher than their peers in the schools. We know what to do. Do we have the backbone to do it, David? And that's where I think that the business community could come in, as they did in Massachusetts, and say, let's have the backbone to actually provide these young kids what they deserve.
You're right on the money. I was at a manufacturing seminar for Pawtucket and Central Falls, and I was shocked at how many manufacturers in the audience said, you know, we're having problems with our Spanish-speaking and Hispanic
Yeah, I remember you
people,
saying that.
and they can't raise their wages because they don't understand the importance of the documentation dealing with medical aerospace. You've got to follow procedures. So I brought that up to Scott Jensen, and he says, well, we can fix that. I said, well, we got to do something pretty quick because these people are losing a livelihood and they can't advance their careers, so we really need to step it up. So I'm pushing that along as you, that I
Good.
feel that needs to be addressed.
And you know, see what we've done. I mean, this is not that somebody showing up and saying, "Hey, we can do better." We've been at this for a decade,
Yep.
and now you're actually seeing the results. And yet, in a lot of ways, it's dismissed because of the nature that mayors are involved with the education
Yeah.
and the way that it's structured. Yet, we're not looking at the performance that's coming out of there that
Right.
could come out of our other.
The results
schools,
is what we
said.
gotta look at.
The results, please. Yes. Dino, tell us a little bit what's going on that's going good in your company right now.
So I think our company, as some of these other companies, has evolved over the years as well. Initially, we relied heavily on Japan to send us full assemblies of robots that we would essentially resell to our other customers. Now, with our expansion and even before that, we laid the groundwork for us to do much more of that assembly and the customizations in-house. So now we're getting a very low percentage of full assemblies from our parent company, but what we're doing is we're keeping inventory at our facility, and we're able to customize and build based on our customers' needs. So we have a whole workforce to do that. We had to increase the number of employees. We have about 100 employees here at our Rhode Island facility. And basically, we had to learn how to react to our customers much more rapidly, and with the robots and the customizations they need, but also with the custom equipment. What the customers are asking us is very much more demanding. They're asking us to do a lot more, to do more. And you know, a lot of our customers are going out and they're quoting jobs now based on them being automated. You know, they're thinking, in the mindset is when we're going to a job, there's no question, this is the status quo to having it automated. So we're doing quite a bit with that. And I think, like some of these folks mentioned, and David, we touched on a lot of the programs that he's mentioned. You know, the workforce has been an issue, no matter who you talk to in the state of Rhode Island, throughout the country, customers, vendors, peers. There's a problem with getting folks that are able to do the jobs that we need them to do, to getting skilled people to do the work. We've been fortunate. We've been able to capitalize on some of the programs that you folks have brought to us. We've done a lot with workforce training, both for new workers and incumbent workers. I think that the new workforce training, some of those grants that we've been able to take advantage of for our company, really helped us make a decision. If we're going to bring an employee on, we're going to invest quite a bit into that employee to get them trained and to get them up to the level where we need them to be. And for us to be able to have some type of incentive and some type of help to do that, it takes the burden off of the company. So I think that those things have been really positive for us. And also, we've done some stuff with the innovation vouchers, and we've worked with a local university, and we've heard success stories of other people that have done so as well. So those type of programs have been valuable to us, and they've helped us out. We're doing some stuff with CCRI right now in their CNC training program. We're getting some folks over at our facility that are going through the program, and then they're coming to us, and we're bringing that training to the next level. We've actually hired one, and we're in the process of hiring another one. So some of those things have been helping, have been making a difference, and I think that they've been making a difference for other companies as well.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that, and I think that it's a very positive thing for the industry, whether it's coming from REMA or Polaris, and then inside the industry. But you're sharing information.
Yeah.
And that's very powerful. So you're sharing information and you're participating in some of the same opportunities that the state's trying to put forward. It's great that you're doing that. Tell us, though, one of the themes that we've had and one of the shows we had was businesses that are anchored in Rhode Island that actually do business outside the state, whether it's through their social media and that type of thing. I know that we've had a number of those things, but you're doing business outside the state as well as inside the state, right?
Yep, we're doing business throughout the United States, and I think, one thing that when we bring customers to our facility as well, we always try to get customers over to our facility, because when they come to Rhode Island and they see our facility, most every time a customer goes away, we know we're probably going to get that order. If it's the first time they've been to our facility and they're on the fence about giving us an order, when they see what we're doing here, they see the size of our facility, they see how our business is run, typically they're impressed and they realize that we're a serious contender and we're a serious company when it comes to robotics and automation. And I think that they do love coming to Rhode Island, especially in the warmer seasons as well. Yeah.
Well, I know that I chaired the National Lieutenant Governors Association last year, and what I hear all the time is Rhode Island's a beautiful state.
Yeah.
And people really do appreciate that from the outside. But one of the things that we've been trying to really drive home, so when I visit business classes on all the college universities, I've been visiting the different universities, meeting with the entrepreneurs in those classes, and the majority of those kids that are in our university is not from Rhode Island.
Right.
Right. So I always put the pitch in of the growth strategy, saying, hey, we got great opportunities here. We had a show on one of them that recent college grads that came from New Mexico, Arizona. I think there was one from Hawaii that actually were doing manufacturing in Providence with lampshades and picnic tables and that type of thing. But what we want to do is we want to make sure, and that's one of the reasons that we have the Advanced Rhode Island TV show, is we want people to know that are out there that you can do business in Rhode Island, you can anchor yourself in Rhode Island and do business all over the world. That's why technology has made the world smaller, and you can enjoy living in a beautiful state like ours and actually do business all over the world. So. Yeah. Christian, tell us a little bit about the things that are going well in Polaris and the programs, and then I want to get into maybe some of the specific programs that we all can talk about.
Sure. So, we connect with a lot of companies that are doing really great things. So from my perspective, there's a lot of growth and a lot of innovation going on with manufacturing companies. Two good examples. There's a medical kitting company up in Lincoln, Rhode Island. They put together these medical kits and ship them out. They came to us and said, our customer just doubled their volume, and can you help with us, because we can't just add a whole new production line and hire twice as many people. So we went in and helped them kind of lean it out, and with 20% more people, they doubled their capacity. But that's a great sign for Rhode Island. Their customer, who's a national customer, came in and said, we want to do more volume out of Rhode Island. The other example is an automotive supplier. They've got patents for sensors that connect into windshields and glass, and they were multiple facilities, Warwick, Cranston, and Providence, and they were shipping material back and forth. And their volumes had increased so much they looked to move into a new plant. So we moved into a brand new facility over by the airport, and it's state of the art. Intellectual property in terms of sensors going into the automotive industry, which is a very difficult industry, and that's all here in Rhode Island. And it's incredible. They bring raw metal into one side of the building, and out of the other side of the building come these sensors that go into Detroit and get mounted on windshields. So there's a lot of great growth going on here in Rhode Island that people may not know about, and great technology as well. Dave had mentioned the business-to-business event that we're doing. So we have we did one last year, and this year, in conjunction with the Supply RI initiative that the governor announced, we're doing a manufacturing B2B event. And the entire reason for that event is to connect manufacturing companies together from a supply chain perspective. So we very often get the comment from manufacturing companies. I go in and say, "What's your biggest need?" And they all say, "Boy, if you can give me more sales, that would be great." So we together with RIMA and Commerce Rhode Island put together this event where we try to really connect people. There's lots of anecdotes of companies that are sourcing stuff from outside of the state, and they don't know that somebody right across the street is producing the same part. So on March 22nd at the Waterfire Arts Center up in Providence, we're having this manufacturing business-to-business event, and it's a tremendous example of what a few partners are trying to do to bring businesses together, because I think there's a great opportunity from a collision space standpoint to bring business together, make connections, make them aware of other things that are being produced and the services that exist in Rhode Island, and try to bring everyone up together.
Yeah, that's great. We got about another 10 minutes, but I wanted, and we'll kind of go past the what could we do better type of thing where you can kind of cooperate. But I really, there's some programs here that I'd like to kind of open it up to discussion and weigh in and tell us a little bit about the Rhode Island Work Immersion Program. Start with Ed, tell us why that was helpful to you.
Sure. Well,
I mean, you're documenting here where you've been able to really take advantage of thousands of dollars of help in terms of training.
absolutely. I mean, four major programs: the Work Immersion Program, the Incumbent Worker Grant Program. We've got into through REMA. We've got access to the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology. And, that was really helpful to us.
David, tell us a little bit about that.
It's called CAT and really works with conjunction with funding came to RIMA through Commerce, and we go out and try to connect technology with someone who has an idea. They don't have the resources per se. They utilize them to do that, and we hooked them up together, and it's been a success story.
Yeah.
It was great for us. I mean, they did test runs on this
Yeah.
new carbon material that we have, and very difficult to machine. So we water jet cut it because it's about the best we can do right now. But they had some technology where they're using ultrasonically driven conventional end mills to cut. It was pretty interesting. I'm allowed to
Yeah,
talk
it
about
was.
that, right?
It was good. We also do that in conjunction with Polaris. Polaris hooked us up with some companies as well. So it's, we're all in it together. So that's what I think is a good thing about this, that we were able to help them out.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we
the toughest-
definitely are all in it together, and that's what's going to create the strength, and that's one of the reasons I had the theme of 39 communities, right? There's 39 cities and towns. They all count. Everybody who lives in those communities count. They all matter, and all the businesses that live in those. And one of the things that we're trying to do, Ed, is as well as we're talking about, we're all in, is what I'm trying to do is there's 14 different industries in the state of Rhode Island, right? There's 14 different kinds of industries, and we're trying to visit every one of them so that we can try to find these common bonds, these common red threads that can connect us together to kind of create a better economy. So you're doing your part in manufacturing, but we got to make sure the hospitality does their part, or the service business do their part, and the farming does their part, right? So yeah, but tell us, who knows anything about the Rhode Island Incumbent Working Training Program? You participated in that?
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. But anybody else?
Yeah, so it's through the Governor's Workforce Board and DLT. So the Incumbent Worker Training Program is actually a program that should be taken advantage of by companies more. And it's really to train up either new hires coming into your company or incumbent workers. So existing employees that you're looking to skill up on a production floor or even in an office capacity, if you're looking to train them up with new skills, which raises the level of their pay and also your business. So it's a 50-50 matching grant. So it very quickly makes training available and affordable for a lot of the small manufacturing companies in the state.
Yeah, we capitalize on that for some of our CNC training. Also for some of our, we do a lot in a 3D program called SolidWorks to send some of our folks out to get the SolidWorks training so that they learn it and that they're versed with that skill. I think one other thing that just to mention, we've kind of been together on some of these boards. I think one of the things that has worked well, or some of the committees, is that they've gotten a lot of input from folks in the manufacturing community on some of these specific things that they've done, and we've been able to kind of give some input, and I think that's been taken, and we've been able to see that there
People
has
actually
been a
listen?
benefit.
So the people actually listen?
Yeah.
That's usually a pretty good start,
Well, that's the difference, though, is you have been listening, and I agree,
Right.
and I think that's a very valid point, because people like yourself and others have come out and asked the questions, and what are our challenges, things like that, because the technology is moving so quickly, and I'm glad we touched base on the people, because I'm feeling that impact also, but the fact that we're having community leaders listening and helping and positioning, and then it's also the network side. The fact is that I met Christian, 5 or 6 years ago. It was because of someone else. It wasn't because we ran over each other. So
Right.
it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think that we keep keep it going, and like I said, the 14 industries, we need to make sure that each and every one does well, right? Because if they all do well, then all of a sudden our economy even gets even stronger.
One of the programs you touched on and
Yeah.
Ed mentioned was the immersion program out of GWB.
Yes.
And that, people don't realize that, but you hire someone, say when they work for you for 400 hours, it's a 50-50 thing, so the state's paying 50% of that person's pay. Then if you hire them as a full-time, they will also give you more credit for hiring them as a full-time employee. So you got that window of 400 hours, which was roughly, say, 10 weeks or so. And, you know, a guy like Dino or you guys, you're going to be able to see, and I used them when I had Swissline, you see how that person's work ethic is.
Right.
And whether he's going to fit in or not. Because whether you believe it or not, there is a work ethic out on that shop floor, and there's a mindset and the attitude. That kid comes in, he doesn't have that. You're not going to want to disrupt your operation, so I say, I'll see you later. But it's a really great program that's not taken advantage of enough.
Yeah, so when we brought in Thumbtack and we brought these businesses in that had, you know, had been service businesses that had given us Fs on, you know, on our business friendliness, one of the frustrating thing was that they weren't aware of what might be available.
Oh.
So that's one of the reasons why we're here today, because you're going to get a handful of people who watch the show who are saying, geez, well, I wonder if I qualify for that. And then they'll either call our office, which they can, right, or they can call any one individual here, so they can put them in touch with the right people, because that bureaucracy can be very frustrating for a small business person. They don't have the time to chase a rabbit, but if they know that they're really pursuing something that's going to benefit them, they'll take the time. Yes,
Dan,
go
there's
ahead.
one other program too that Dino had mentioned. I just want to make sure, you know, we've all talked about technology and how important it is to advance these manufacturing companies. The state listened and kicked off these innovation vouchers, which is completely reactive to a very specific need, where they connect manufacturing, actually all companies, into industry, into knowledge providers. So universities, other research and development companies. So it's taking technology and really making it accessible to smaller companies. And there's been fantastic programs that have come out of it. So it's a hugely valuable program in the state, and actually looked upon favorably throughout other states in the country. I've heard from other MEP centers. So.
Well, this is great. I mean, the last few minutes have been very informative, and that's what we want to do. We want to first let people know that there's some extraordinary things happening in the manufacturing in the state, but also there's programs that are structured in a way to help those manufacturers grow their business. Yes, Mike.
Very quickly, I know we're talking about the training, and again, the training is not, you know, it's not a destination, it's a journey.
Yes.
Right? So you buy into that part of it. So once you're into it and you understand it, you want to get more involved. The other thing in the state of Rhode Island is the Solar Rhode Island program. I just step into that for a second. With the help of the Solar Rhode Island program, we were able to put 900 solar panels on our roof, which at times when it's sunny outside handles 100% of our manufacturing equipment. So the fact is that we allow ourselves to be competitive with the rising rates of electricity that goes on, and be able to baseline that. That has helped us tremendously from a competitive situation. So, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, it's only an hour show, but we could probably talk more and more about what the
Well, I think you're
state
laying out
does.
a really good agenda in terms of we need to continue to follow up. I'll just quickly say that we're focusing really hard on the utilities, and we believe that even with the new tax law recently, we've said, you know, make sure that those, you know, when the tax savings begin for the utilities, make sure that the rate savings begin. I think we still got millions of dollars left to recover there by going back to January 1st through the fall on that, and we're going to continue doing that. But yes, and David and I, we talked about energy. There's a lot of things: efficiencies, the renewables, capacity, you know, competition. Those are all important things, and you can't do one and just think that, oh, we covered the whole story.
That's correct.
So you know, thank you so much. So I think we're kind of rounding it out here. I just thank you for everybody for taking the time today to be here and tell the story. And we're at Advance Rhode Island. That's our theme for our offices, trying to advance Rhode Island. We're working every day to try to figure out how to improve the state of Rhode Island for the people who live in our state, and the business community really contributes a great deal to that end game, right, so to speak, right? And I'll just end by saying thank you. Thanks for everybody watching in on Advance Rhode Island. I'm Dan McKee, and go Pats.